everything is figure outable and doable if you start small. Like going to the island first, right off the bat, impossible, right? But we first getting into open water and to just swim in it seemed daunting. One buoy, then the second. And, to me, that's such an important reminder and lesson that anything is doable if you break it down into bite-sized chunks. If you have the right support, if you have the right coaching, accountability, it really does make all the difference.
Hello, Adam. Congratulations. You did it. You accomplished the thing you set out to do. You shared it with us a few weeks ago, and I'm excited for you to let everybody know it has been done. So tell the listeners, tell the people who are tuning in.
I swam to an island in open water.
Did it. You did it. And
did it.
How was it?
How was it? It was wonderful. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Okay.
It was a lot longer than we trained for and expected. But it was a journey. It was certainly an adventure as well. The way we trained was very different than Conquer the Island Day.
Conquer the Island Day. I love it. So, all right. Well, let's back up a second.
All right.
I mean, the whole point was what? Why did you do this? Have you done this kind of thing before?
Never. Not once. I've never done open water swimming. I was sitting on the beach with a friend and we looked at this island and I said, we should swim there. And as soon as I said, I'm like, oh no, we have to swim there. And we did it. We got some friends involved and it was awesome. But, the reason why I wanted to do it was because I didn't want to do it, if that makes sense. The fear of it, the unknown, the fact that the idea of open water swimming was terrifying for me was actually why I wanted to do it. I wanted to do something hard.
Okay. I mean, I guess there's probably, there's a group of us out here going, well, yeah, you're probably just like a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
What? I mean,
no. Not even close. So I am a creature of habit, very, very routine oriented. And that is why I seek out discomfort. As I've said before, and I'll say it again because I think it's worth saying, I really believe that as we age, we seek comfort, but the more comfort we seek, the faster we age. And I think it's really important for us to impose discomfort in our life, even just in small bouts, just because we have such wonderful comfort in our lives. And if our tolerance for discomfort decreases, we're putting ourselves at a significant disadvantage as we get older.
It kind of reminds me of something I say to my clients a lot. I think a lot of people assume, Adam, that if we just keep doing what you've been doing, like, maybe life won't get significantly better, but surely it's not going to get worse. And the thing I tell clients, and maybe it's related, is, change is inevitable, right? Like you're sitting there on the shore with your buddies and you're like, yeah, we're going to swim to that island. In my mind, that's you getting in the driver's seat of change, right? That's you getting in the driver's seat of where you're headed, how your life could change and evolve and improve. But there's the other version, and it's not everything just stays the same. It's you're in the back seat with your eyes closed and just letting change take your life where change is going to take your life,
Right. Yep.
So it's
interesting. I like that a lot. Yes. I think it's important to be intentional with your change. Otherwise, it's going to take you. And I'd much rather be in the driver's seat. And, I think putting yourself through self-imposed discomfort, whether it's through exercise or doing a swim like this or whatever it might be, it really makes you feel alive. And it is really imperative, in my opinion, because life is going to throw punches at you. That is inevitable. And when you practice dealing with discomfort, even if it's self-imposed, it really helps you a little and sometimes a lot. In a way, it helps you to deal with these these punches, the way, it helps you to deal with life. Because if you never have any discomfort, then you don't know how to deal with it. As it's the bottom line.
Right. You build your confidence in like, well, what if something doesn't go well? What if something doesn't go the way I expected? If you're
Hmm.
not exposing yourself to some discomfort on a regular basis, you don't know what you're made of, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, great segue here, by the way. Because really what we want to talk about is like, what are the key takeaways from this experience for you and how do they apply to those of you who are tuning in, right? Like, how does this apply to health and wellness and fitness? And so you've put it out there. Life's going to throw you punches. Stuff's not going to go the way we thought it was going to go. And it certainly sounds like this swim wasn't quite what you anticipated.
No. So one of my favorite quotes by Mike Tyson is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And what that means is you can plan and plan ahead, but something might happen that day or whatever, and it throws everything off. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't plan, but you got to be adaptable. You got to be ready. And when we trained, we went into this thinking this would be a 1 mile swim and it would take about an hour. It wound up being over 2 miles and taking 2 hours and 15 minutes. And the reason why it was so much longer was because the conditions were awful, absolutely awful. The wind was going one way, the current was going another. So it felt like we were swimming in a washing machine. It was really, really, really hard to make any progress. And it was absolutely exhausting.
Wow.
So, yeah. So like when we say, it's important, it is important to have a plan, because otherwise you're really setting yourself up for failure. But it's also important to be adaptable. And if you bring this back to health and fitness or nutrition specifically, or exercise, it's important to plan because it just makes it so much easier. But let's say you go into work and someone brings in pizza or donuts. It's very easy to just say, forget it. I'll just have the pizza or donuts. But you can still control the controllables, right? You can still control how much pizza you have. You can still control how you eat the pizza, how slowly you eat the pizza, right? There's a lot of controllables that you can control. And for us, it was like, all right, well, we certainly can't control the tide and the current, but we can control our breathing. We can control our cadence. We can control our pace. And that's where the training came into play.
So this is really a message to those of us who are all or nothing. And far be it for you to have been in the middle of a swim to an island and just said, well, I'm not going to make it. Like, you really had to. You had to put yourself in a position to say, what do I have control over? You have control over your being, your body, your breath, your pace, right? Like how much you're expending in that moment, if you take a rest, things like that. And I think we see this all the time, right? With clients who really struggle with this kind of thinking. Well, my lunch plans are blown up. I'm just going to eat all the things. Or, that time for my workout went to hell in a handbasket. I'm just not gonna. Meanwhile, maybe you take the stairs to your car, go into the parking garage, or, find a way to factor in some push-ups while you're waiting for dinner to cook on the stove. Those little things, what can you control? And I think that's such a valuable lesson. Mike Tyson's out there swinging all day long. Who are we going to be when the punch lands? I love this one. I love it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that was takeaway number 2, really. Number 3.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was like. All right. You're out there. You're looking. You're trying to see the island, right?
Yes.
How far away is this sucker? Like while you're on the swim?
Like point to point, it's a mile. But because the current and the wind, it wound up being over 2 miles. So you could see the island, especially when you're up on like a little wave. But it was really important for me, and I think all of us as a group, because I did it with some friends, to look back every now and then and be like, guys, look, we're making progress. Like, look, we can see where we left. We can see the island in front of us. And I think so many of us are always looking at like what's next. We're looking up the mountain and we rarely look down the mountain. We look at, the weight we have left to lose and the fitness we have yet to achieve versus like the weight we've lost and the fitness we've achieved. And we especially do this with non-scale victories, right? We're always looking at like all the behaviors we haven't mastered yet. And we always think about like, oh, here I go again with our negative behaviors. We rarely do it like, oh, here I go again. Look, now I'm responding to this stressor or this feeling in a different way, right? We're always looking at what we don't have versus what we have. We're always looking at what we have to accomplish versus what we have.
I think that is so important to remind those who are listening. If you don't take time to look back at how far you've come, to take moments of reflection, right? Like you said, am I responding differently to certain things that happen? When the punch lands, right? How am I responding differently to that? How far have I come? I mean, sometimes this process of getting our health back on track, of losing the weight we need to let go of gaining the fitness we'd love to have, it can take a while, right? I'm sure there were moments out there in that swim you thought, oh my God, I'm just never going to get there. Like, I'm never going to get there.
Totally.
But it can be so powerful to look back and be like, well, yes, I am. I'm not on that shore anymore, right?
Yep.
And that buoy's behind me now. So it is. And I think it's really helpful, Adam, if I do blow our own horn, to have a coach in the corner who can draw your attention to these points of progress.
And we had a coach out there, by the way. So one of our friends was a college swimmer. He was coaching us through all of our trainings, through the swim to the island. And it really, really helped. And there were times where one of us would be like, guys, look back, like we're making progress. Because we were out in the water for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We thought we were going to be out in the water for like an hour. I mean, it was wild. I mean, some of us got seasick. I never thought you can get seasick swimming. But because the current was so crazy, like you feel it. So it was really helpful to have him, and it was also helpful to have just the friends to just be like, guys, like we're making progress. It's taking longer than we thought, but we're making progress.
Yeah. I'm so valuable. So valuable. You need, and actually this is really funny because I think it brings us right to our next point, which I didn't realize, but bring the port with you. That coach was like a port in the storm, right? Like that's one example of what I think this saying means, but bring the port with you. Why don't you tell us about how that applied to your swim? For you, what was the port that you brought with you? And by the way, I mean like port in the storm, right? Like, okay, where am I going to hold tight until this blows over?
Yeah, I mean, so we were very careful. I mean, we were very considerate in this. We were very thoughtful. So we had a few kayaks out there. So a few of our friends volunteered very nicely to be out there with us on kayaks for safety. And then we had a friend who has access to a boat. He had his boat out there in case there was like an emergency. So like we had the safety precautions in place, which felt really comforting. And I think this leads me to the next one, or do we want to tie that back to nutrition, exercise first?
Yeah, I think it's helpful. And it kind of, you mentioned earlier, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. I think bringing the port with you is part of the planning, right? Like, especially for those of you who are working on your health and fitness and you're enduring big events, major life events, weddings, trips, work events, kids, and goodness forbid, something terrible happening in your family to a loved one, something like that. How can you bring the port with you, right? Like what kinds of things can you prepare to come along with you through these storms, through these challenging times? Maybe it's packing meals and snacks for yourself if you've got to be away from access to that type of stuff, or making sure you throw sneakers in a bag so you can get a walk in at a moment's notice, right? How can you bring your port with you? And I think that's part of the planning that needs to be in place so you can deal with the punches that life throws at you. Anything else you want to add?
No, well said.
Okay. Cool.
So I think it also, leads to the next one, which is like, there were like individually, I think if you asked any of us, especially when we were like an hour, 1 hour, like 90 minutes in, like we all wanted to quit individually. Like there's no question about that. Like it was miserable at times. And of course, the misery is what made it so rewarding when we got there. but it was miserable. And I think individually, all of us would have quit. But together, we all set out to accomplish this goal. We really wanted it. And that is where like the accountability and the coaching from our friend and just being in it with someone else made all the difference, because there was no doubt about it. First off, if I would never do it alone, but if I was crazy enough to do it alone without support, without kayaks or a boat, there's no chance I would have kept going. I would have turned around. The conditions were definitely less than ideal. That's for sure. So having the people there and having my friends and having the coach and like all that really made such a difference, because we didn't want to let each other down. And I think that was huge.
It is huge. I mean, it was a huge undertaking, right? And you jumped in at the worst possible time, it sounds like. And how many times, Adam, do we have people sign up for the program and they're like, I don't know why I'm doing this now. I've got A, B, and C coming up. I just left for a trip. My dog's having surgery.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's moving. How many times have people signed up for this program in the storm?
It happens every day, but you know what? I love that, because they're actually, when the storm inevitably recedes, and it always does, it's so much easier, right? Whereas we have the other people on the other side of the coin where, they wait for the conditions to be perfect. Life is great. Life is perfect. And then as soon as something happens, they have no idea what to do, and they freak out and they recoil and they hide. Whereas like the storms are going to happen. So we want to work with you through those storms so that next time they do, you know how to weather them.
Yes. Yes. I mean, have your team. Have us on your side, right? Like, we're not going to let you quit. We're not going to let you give up. We're not going to let you throw your hand up in the middle of the ocean and be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Nope. We'll come and kayak next to you and we'll keep carrying you along here because we're both committed, right?
Yep. That's what makes all the difference. It really does.
Well, very cool. I love that you accomplished that. That's some scary stuff, man. Open water swimming alone is pretty intense, but mix in some crazy currents and waves and a unexpected 2+ mile swim.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was really fun though. It was really challenging. And I'll tell you what, when you do hard things, when you do challenging things, it builds your confidence, because then you're like, hey, what's next? And, to me, that's the best part. It becomes a virtuous cycle. And, the only way, like the idea of like just swimming, open water swimming was daunting. But the first time we trained, like there was buoys where we were training, we literally swam to the first buoy. The next time, the second buoy. The next time, the third buoy. So we built it up. We took baby steps. And like, it's so important to remember that anything is doable. Like we always joke, like everything is figure outable and doable if you start small. Like going to the island first, right off the bat, impossible, right? But we first getting into open water and to just swim in it seemed daunting. One buoy, then the second. And, to me, that's such an important reminder and lesson that anything is doable if you break it down into bite-sized chunks. If you have the right support, if you have the right coaching, accountability, it really does make all the difference.
So if you'll allow me, I think I have the challenge for the week in mind.
I love it.
All right.
Give it to us.
So I want people to write in and share with you something big, scary they'd like to accomplish. And then break it down and tell us what the first buoy is. And if you know what the first, second, third buoy is, that'd be cool too. But I really want people listening to challenge themselves. What's that scary thing? Ideally, it's food, fitness related, wellness related, maybe. But you know what? If you're having a hard time with that piece, which listen, we all do from time to time, right? Adam, like I find when my clients are struggling with the food and fitness actions and goals, we look elsewhere. Okay, what else could we challenge ourselves to? Because confidence can be built upon anything. So what do you think about that, Adam?
I love it. I think it's great.
Cool. So you guys have your homework for this week. Let us know what's something that kind of makes you scared to try, but you really want to try it. And what would be the first buoy you'd swim to in that attempt? Anything else, Adam?
No, I'm just glad that's over. I'm glad we did it. I feel proud of our group. And, just to be clear, like I'm a very, I think because I'm not this like, person that's an adrenaline junkie or anything like that. Like this was so out of the box for me. And that's why I wanted to do it. I pushed myself. And the only reason why I was able to do that was because the people I was with and the whole collective group and the coaching and the accountability. So like, I don't want you to look at me like I'm a very structured, routine oriented person. And that is why it was so appealing to me on some level.
He
Yeah.
speaks the truth. I know for a fact he's not doing 2-mile swims to islands.
No, I'm not one of those, types of people at all.
Not jumping out of planes, no hang gliding, cliff
No.
diving. No,
No.
that's okay.
So tell us what your goal is, what your, and ultimately how you're going to break it down, what that first buoy is going to be. We really look forward to hearing it from you. And
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And one more thing, if you have an idea in mind, but you're not sure how to break it down, let us know that too, right? We
Yep.
might be able to help out. Who knows?
Absolutely.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. Take good care, and we'll see you next time.